I've gathered up 5 of the most mind-boggling puzzles I've ever found. And the first 3 are normal, but the final 2, well, they're something else. I can tell you that for free. And I'm gonna be solving them for you guys and explaining them. So this is puzzle number 1. This is puzzle number 2. This is puzzle number 3. But the thing is, I won't spoil the final 2 because they are so insane. Like, the final 2 are honestly mind-boggling. Why are there queens here? Okay, so this is the first puzzle. What we see here that there are 3 pawns for white and 2 for black. That means white has 1 extra pawn, which is this one, because like that. And white king is really far away from the pawns. It takes 1, 2, 3, 4 squares, 4 moves to go to the pawns, while black it only takes 1. So yeah, it seems like we can't do anything with the king, any maneuver that will save us, and we have to only focus on the pawns. You have to move them in a certain way that will make them promote. So you have to figure out a way, and the only way to do that is by pushing them. So you have three pawn pushes: f6, e6, and d6. And I'm gonna give you a couple of seconds to solve them, or you could just pause the video. Okay, time's up. If you said the best move is d6, well then, congrats, you are correct. Why? Well, if black just pushes a pawn, you promote, and if black moves the king, you just take the pawn. So that's simple. But what if black takes the pawn? We obviously can't take it, but if we do, because if we do, black just takes it and then gobbles up this little ball. So what we should do instead is we should play the ultimate, omega brilliant move, pawn e6. And the reason is because if he doesn't take, we take. And if he just pushes, well then, easy queen. But if he does take, we play a bonkers move. We don't take, big mistake, because if we do, he catches up to our pawn. So what do? We push, and the thing is, his king can't reach the pawn before promote because of his own pawn. So the idea of the sack, on d6 is that this pawn will then stop him from going back, because if the pawn wasn't here, for example, it was like anywhere, you could come back and stop the pawn. But since the pawn is here, you can't. And even if you move the pawn, too late, buddy. It's already a queen, and you lose. So that's puzzle 1, and it's an amazing puzzle, and it really shows like pawn like ways to promote. Like, this could be really useful in end games. Like, you could really learn from this. And now let's go on to puzzle 2. Alright, so this is puzzle 2, and what we see here is that there are 2 bishops for a rook, and this rook is currently in danger. But if we take it, that's a big mistake, because black just takes it, and now there's only king and bishop versus a king, and well, that isn't a winning position. So what we should do instead is we should try to move the king in a way, for example, these two squares, so that way the rook is no longer defended. For example, if the king was here, you could take it for free. And now you have 2 bishops versus a rook, 2 bishops versus the king, and that's an easy checkmate. So we have to try to do that, and I'm going to give you a couple of seconds to think about it. And time's up. So if you said bishop takes b4, well then you weren't paying attention. I said that was a draw. So yeah, you're a failure. But if you said bishop c6, well then congrats, because that's the winning move. And the reason is black only has two moves, king a5 and rook b5, blocking the check. If black moves king a5, the king to a5, well then he just put himself in a pin. So the rook can't move anywhere, because then the bishop would just take the king. So only the king can move, which means that we have to make the king move either here or here. And how do we do that? I'm gonna, oh yeah, you already thought about this probably, except if you're a dummy. And the way is not king a3, because if you play king a3, yes, you're gonna win the rook, but then the black king plays king b6, and if you save the bishop, well then the rook is no longer pinned and can just move. And if you take the rook, the king just takes the bishop. So that's what not to do. I don't know why I was saying that's what to do. I don't know. I'm just an idiot. I'm a moron, unfortunately. So what you gotta do is you gotta play waiting move, bishop e8, and this position is like a zugzwang. This is called a zugzwang, which is basically when you play a move that doesn't change your position, but it's kind of like a waiting move, and it's like saying, okay bro, I'm gonna give you a chance to play, but the thing is, the only moves that your opponents can play will make them lose. For example, the king can only play king a6, and that's a losing move, because you'll just take the rook. And that's a zugzwang. And in this position, it's two bishops versus a king, which is a winning position, just like I said in the beginning of the puzzle. So what about variation number 2? The variation where when you play bishop c6, the rook blocks. Well, you have to do the same idea, the same strategy. And that strategy is doing waiting moves, but don't make the mistake of doing a waiting move with the bishop, because yes, the rook can move and it's still pinned, but the king also can move because it's stalemate. You can't play king a5, and you can't even play king b4 because of the bishop. And a3 and b3 are also covered with the king. So what should you do? Well then, in this position, you have to move the king to king a1, giving the opponent, the black king, extra room to move. For example, if he plays king a3, you take what? Okay, you take the rook, and well, you have two bishops versus a king. Easy, GG, W, whatever. So that is puzzle number 2, and now let's go to puzzle number 3. Okay, so this is puzzle number 3, but the thing is with this puzzle is that it can't really happen in a real game. Like in a real game, you can't have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rooks and like 2 queens and the pawn here and the king in the middle and the king there. Like you can't have that in the real game. But it's just this puzzle is just to test your calculation skills, to see how good your brain is, if you have one. But if you do, well then you're lucky, because you could solve this puzzle. And I'm gonna give you a couple of seconds to solve it, just like always. Time's up. Okay, so what you gotta do is play the ultimate move, queen g7 check. Now, the idea of this puzzle is that you'll always have to maintain at least one pin, like pinning the rooks, because in that way this rook has to block, and you can't block with this one. So you have to do that and check again. This is spin, so you have to block like this. Check again. This is spin, so you have to block like this. Check again, and again this spin, so you have to do that, and check, block, checkmate. And the reason that it's checkmate is that this is a pawn, and the pawn can't go here, obviously. So if this was a rook, the rook would just block, and then you check, and then the rook would block, and then check, block, check, block, and just keep checking and blocking. So yeah, for eternity. So because this was a pawn, this puzzle was able to be solved. And now let's go to puzzle 4. And this puzzle is probably my favorite, and definitely Levy's favorite, or aka Gotham Chess, because it's just insane. So enough yapping, and let's hop into puzzle 4. Okay, so this is puzzle number 4, and it's probably my favorite because, well, it's just so insane. And it's definitely the hardest puzzle by far. So I'm gonna give you a couple of seconds to solve it. And by the way, make sure to like and subscribe, since if you actually gain something from this video, which you probably have, and that thing is being shocked, I guess. I don't know what to say. I don't have an actual script, just whatever. So make sure to like and subscribe, and hit the like button and subscribe, and hit the subscribe button and hit the like button. Anyways, I'm gonna give you a couple of seconds. Okay, time's up. Now, if you said playing knight b6, well then congrats, because it's wrong. It's just wrong. Because if you play knight b6, king b8, then what? If, like, what, like, knight c6, like, are you kidding me? Just sacking a knight for completely no reason. So don't do that. Instead, you have to think outside the box. And also, you have to make every move should count. Every move should be a check, because if you don't do that, well then you got a lot of shenanigans over here. Like, it's a lot of shenanigans. So yeah. So the first move is rook a1, and if you play this move, well, it's correct. It is wrong. So king b8, and then rook a8, brilliant move, sacrificing the rook. If black plays king c7, you can just push the pawn, checkmate. And how crazy is that? A pawn checkmate. So black has to take, and they play rook a1, king b8, and you might say, well, it's just the exact same position, just without a rook. Exactly, because then you play rook a8 again, another rook sacrifice. Bro, where's Gotham when you need him, bro? He'd be so crazy. Like, again, if you play here, pawn checkmate. But if you take queen a1, and then he has to play king b8, and then here for the ultimate move, queen a7, queen sack. If black plays king c7, b6, king a8, and checkmate. And if black plays king here, checkmate. So if black takes, you play knight c6, double check. White can't do anything. Black can't do anything, because if black takes this bishop, we take the king. And if black takes the knight, we also take the king with the bishop. So black only has one square, which is king a8, and then knight b6. Checkmate with 2 knights and a bishop. This knight is doing the check, and this knight is controlling the squares. And the king can't move anywhere. And this is the real chess nightmare. Like, it's just so crazy. This is puzzle number 4. Definitely my favorite. And now let's hop on to puzzle 5. Okay, so this is puzzle number 5, the final boss. And what we see here is that there's a bishop that's, well, threatening to checkmate the king in one move. So we have to stop that. But you might think, well then how? Like, it's impossible. The king can't move. The knight is literally in the corner of the board. What can we do? Well, you probably realized by now that the king can't move anywhere. So we have to try to make a stalemate. I would say, well, we literally have 3 pawns and the knight can move. That's literally impossible, moron. Well, first thing, don't use such words. We have to try to use encouraging words that make other people happy. The internet isn't a place to fight. The internet is a place to be friends and enjoy life. And second, don't you dare tell me moron. You're the only moron here, and the reason is that this is a stalemate. And if you don't believe me, well then I'm gonna be solving for you. But for the nice viewers out there, I'm gonna be waiting a couple of seconds. Time's up. Now, what you gotta do is you gotta focus on this pawn. You gotta play b3, and if he doesn't take, you queen. So he has to take, and then c4, and if he doesn't take, you queen. So he has to take, and then you have to queen. Check. And here he has to take because it's a queen. But make sure to not play knight f7, because in this position he doesn't have to take. He could just play bishop d5 checkmate. So you really shouldn't do that. So queen, check, he takes, and then you play knight f7. If he takes, stalemate, easy, GG's. But if he plays bishop h7, you play knight b4. He can't attacking the bishop and also covering this square, with the knight. So what should he do? He'll probably play a move like bishop f5. But here you played the ultimate move, knight f3, which is crazy. You're attacking the pawn, which means if he plays any random move, you could just take it and it's a draw. But if he takes the knight, you could take, and that's also a draw. So what should he do instead? Instead, what he probably would do is play bishop e4, pinning the knight, and he'll be like, next move, I could just take the knight, checkmate. If you take the knight, it's just checkmate, but the thing is, there isn't any next move. The knight is pinned, the knight can't move, and, well, the king can't move, and that means stalemate. So this is puzzle 5, an amazing puzzle. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Drop a comment and like, subscribe to watch more amazing videos like this. And also, the first 5 commenters on this video will get a shout out in my next video. So you have to comment. And only the people who watch till the end will have a chance to comment. So you're really lucky you watched till the end. And the first person to comment on this video will play an exclusive game against me on YourChess.org. And now my YourChess account is called YourChessCoach, which is your-chess-coach. Again, YourChessCoach, and challenge me so you could play a real game against me, and I'll be analyzing that game if you want to. And goodbye, peace out, have a wonderful day.